Now, condolences are pouring in for former Reserve Bank Governor and Minister of Finance, Tito Mboweni. According to a statement from the family, Mboweni died in a Johannesburg hospital last night, surrounded by loved ones. We now speak to political analyst Somadoda Fikeni on the passing of Tito Mboweni. Mr. Fikeni, thank you so much for your time. Let's just hear on the impact that Mr. Mboweni made in South Africa, and how do you remember Tito Mboweni?
He's one of those prominent figures who were quite prominent during the times of the struggle, especially in the 80s, and based in exile. But he will always be remembered as one of the architects of our transition to democracy, becoming the very first labor minister, during which most of the current labor laws within the confines of our constitution were passed. And then he presided over the Reserve Bank at the time of stabilizing the economy, at the time when the economy was recovering from the challenges that it had experienced during the apartheid and beginning to experience some growth. So he's quite a prominent figure who, even after retirement, he was very close to social media and had taken on this new role of being a chef. And that in itself, I think it's something that brought in people of different generations to his space through social media. A giant intellectual and a very effective debater, forthright, direct. You couldn't actually guess what he was thinking about issues. And he always invited such discourse without shying away from what he believed in.
And Dr. Fikeni, I want us to now delve into the legacy that he leaves behind.
The legacy he leaves behind is the one of a person who dedicated his youthful years into the struggle against apartheid. And during that same period, he managed to equip himself studying to add into his qualifications to prepare for transition. And during the transition period, that one most important legacy is the one of helping in the changing labor laws, which under apartheid were quite oppressive against workers. Now he was enacting laws after laws which were more favorable to the workers, and that he had already started during negotiations making an impact in that particular space, and even during the crafting of the constitution. So that's why it was more befitting for him to become our labor minister. But after that, I guess most of the South Africans will remember him as the governor of the Reserve Bank, again, not mincing his words, and even prepared to differ from the mainstream, and even prepared to differ from his own political organization.
And Dr. Fikeni, I also want us to touch on, just some of the tributes that have continued to pour in throughout the course of the morning. Earlier on the program, we also spoke to Dr. Lehotla, who actually described him as a decisive leader. Would you say that he really was a decisive leader, particularly when you look at the role that he's played in crafting some policies, and some of those policies might not have been actually what you'd call flavor of the day at the time?
There is no doubt that he was a decisive leader. He had the conviction of courage. And as such, when he believed in something, he articulated it quite clearly, and he was prepared to take a move. At times, as the Reserve Bank governor and as the finance minister, he would even have challenges from within his own party and from within the tripartite alliance, because he never minced his words. And he didn't want to have the doublespeak or some vagueness about what he believed in. And that what is most needed in leadership, that once you have collected ideas, once you have had people give direction, have courage of conviction. And we had plenty of that within Tito Mboweni. He was not a populist who would go with the wind because he wanted to please everybody. in most instances, when you want to please everybody, you end up displeasing everybody.
All right, Thomas, thank you so much for your time. That was political analyst Dr. Somadoda Fikeni talking to us there, as well as sharing some of his tributes there following the news of the passing of former Minister Tito Mboweni right here on the program.